Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I believe we are live on a Sunday, October 6th. It's 8 a.m. It's Coffee with Frankie. Let me know if you can see me and hear me okay in the chat. We got a new microphone here, so we want to make sure it's coming through loud and clear. It's also 8 a.m. here on the East Coast of America, and the Jets are over in jolly old London, where they will take on the Minnesota Vikings in a matchup at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, which is why we're coming to you so early. We will be on the Green Bean channel for the game. So after this show, you can head over to the Green Bean Jets fan channel and watch a group of us as we do a watch along. All right, Eric Craig is here. He says audio and video good. All right. Well, I guess this microphone is working out pretty well. Um, so that's a good thing. The Jets, in case you don't know, Phil says audio 100%. All right. Is it an improvement on the other one, though? That's a question. The other one was giving me too much room noise, in my opinion. I think this one should be a little bit more straightforward. Raiden from New Zealand is here. So we got a New Zealander, we got a Londoner or an Englander, and we got a Texicana so far. But Phil, as far as we know, is not going to the game. Surprisingly, we put a game over in London, and Phil doesn't even go. Can you believe it, Braden? He is too much trouble. He's got things going on. He's not going to go to Tottenham Hotspur. Have a hot toddy. By the way, this is the coffee. I am the Frankie. Yeah, Phil said he's not going to the game. He says he went to the stadium in the Jets hotel. Is that where they were having that little fan fest thing, Phil? I saw some pictures of the fan fest, it looked like, that the Jets were hosting. Dulcet tones only. Yeah, let's hope so. Let's hope this microphone works better. The other one made me sound not like myself. Rank you worldwide. Yeah, so here are some facts about Tottenham Hotspur Stadium you might not know. This is where the Jets are playing. So I looked up some facts. It says here Tottenham Hotspur Stadium stands as a beacon of modern engineering and innovation in North London. Seating capacity 62,850. It's the largest club stadium in London and the third largest football stadium in England. Third largest. So they built this and they didn't even make it the biggest. Here are 40 fascinating facts. The stadium boasts a seating capacity of 62,850. Well, they already said that. Multi-purpose venue designed to be versatile. It hosts football matches, NFL games, concerts, and various other events. Well, retractable pitch. This is probably the thing it's most known for. Features the world's first retractable football pitch. That's what they call a field over there. Revealing a synthetic turf field underneath for NFL games and concerts. Construction began in 2015 and was completed in March of 2019. So it took them 4 years to build it. Why it takes 4 years, I don't know. Then it says the first Premier League game was held on April 3rd, 2019. So they finished in March, and then the next month they were playing football or soccer on it. The stadium is part of a 20-year regeneration plan for Tottenham, initiated in 2007. Land acquisition. The project covers the site of the now demolished White Hart Lane and adjacent areas. Final landowners were forcibly sold in March of 2015, allowing construction to commence. So I guess people who owned land around there were told, hey, you got to get out of here. Forcibly sold. So the government just came in and said, you got a house here? Get out. We need a big football pitch. Get out. I don't like that. That's like eminent domain here in the United States. I don't like eminent domain. We got to build a new hyperspace bypass, so get out. Designed by Populous and constructed by Mace with structural engineering by Bureau Happold, whatever that is. Cost and funding. The project cost 1 billion euros, making it one of the most expensive stadium developments in history. Capacity increase. The stadium has increased 3,500 jobs, an increase from 1,700 of the White Hart Lane one, boosting the local economy. Non football events. It can host up to 16 non football events each year, including 6 concerts and 10 other sporting events. Now, here's some architectural wonders that you may not know of. The exterior features 35,000 decorative tiles, enhancing its visual appeal. Well, that's a matter of opinion. I mean, what if these decorative tiles are ugly? Perforated metal panels. The veil of the stadium, it has a veil for some reason, consists of 4,801 perforated metal panels fitted to modular frames fixed to the rear of the stands. I'm not sure what you need that for, but glass panels. The rest of the exterior comprises 2,505 glass panels, giving it a sleek, modern look. Okay. Internal layout. The system has 1,600 doors, 729 staircases, making it a complex yet functional space. Seating configuration. The stands are angled up to 35 degrees. The south stand has 17,500 seats, the largest single tier stand in the UK, standing more than 34 meters high. So there you go. Golden cockerel. A famous golden cockerel copied to the tiniest detail from the White Hart Lane thing now sits atop the south stand at a height of 4.5 meters. So you got that going on. And you may not know that the complex isn't yet finished. The stadium and the museum and archive, so they're going to build a museum based within the restored Warmington House, will tell the club's history and display artifacts. Oh. The Skywalk and Sky Bridge will offer spectacular views over the pitch. Now, Phil, tell me if I'm wrong, but this team, the Tottenham Hotspur, whatever they're called, they have never won the Tottenham Football Club. They've never won the Premier League, right? Not once has Tottenham won the Premier League or even come in second. Is that correct? We were looking at the list the other day. It's mostly 2 teams that have dominated this league. Now, this league has no salary cap, no salary floor, and no draft. Right? Fact check me if I'm wrong, Phil. No draft, no salary cap, no salary floor. So it's the wild, wild west as far as competitive balance is concerned. And so as a result, the teams that have the most money win every year. It's Manchester United and Manchester City are the 2 teams that win all the time. And so Tottenham says, well, we're going to build a museum and an archive based within the restored Warmington House. Okay. It's going to tell the club's history and display artifacts. Well, artifacts of what? You losing? I don't understand. The history of coming in fifth? That's not a great history. I mean, it's like the Jets building a museum to all the, Super Bowls we've won. We won one and only gone to one, frankly. Yeah, no caps. So let's say they've won the old Division 1 champion. Yeah, but that's not the Premier League or that's not the modern thing. So, yeah, Harlan's here. So I don't understand. Spin Max Dave is here. I don't understand how they're building a museum and an archive. Are the Jetsies going to win today? Well, that's what we'll find out, Dave. Ooh. I'm worried about it. I'm worried about you. If you see my game preview, you saw my thoughts about the game personally. I put it all in there. 40 minutes worth of a video. Tottenham. Oh, let's Tottenham Hotspur's rich history. Tottenham Hotspur has a storied history filled with legendary players and memorable moments. How legendary are these players if they never win? It says founded in 1882. Okay, that's a long history. I'm not sure about rich. The club has a rich history, it says here, including iconic players like Jimmy Greaves and Glenn Hoddle. Anybody ever heard of Jimmy Greaves and Glenn Hoddle? Not on this side of the Atlantic. And modern day stars like Harry Kane and Gareth Bale. Anybody ever heard of them? Uh, Harry Kane and Gareth Bale. Fan engagement. I don't know who these people are. Fan engagement. The club engages with fans through various social media platforms. Well, that's not rich history. That's just table stakes. Providing updates, behind the scenes content, and interactive experiences. Huh, okay. Women's club. The club has a successful, says successful here. I don't know. Successful may have a different definition. Successful women's team competing in the Women's Super League, showcasing its commitment to developing women's football. Okay, but have they won anything? We like winners. The Tottenham Hotspur mascot is a sparrow hawk. You may not know that the Tottenham Hotspur mascot is a sparrow hawk. That seems like a combination of two different birds. A sparrow hawk named Chirpy. Chirpy the sparrow hawk. And who entertains fans and adds to the match day experience. So you want to you want to interact with the mascot, you interact with Chirpy the sparrow hawk. I think those are two different birds. You got a sparrow, then you got a hawk. How can you have a sparrow hawk? Phil is going on about, no, it's a cock. Well, it says it's a sparrow hawk. Phil says Jimmy Greaves was a World Cup winner. Well, why does he say it's a modern day player? 1966 was a long time ago. But it says, oh, Greaves was one of the iconic players. He's not one of the modern day stars. He's the iconic player because he won the World Cup in 1966. All right. But what about Glenn Hoddle? What did he do? He was just on the team. It's like all those people on the Chicago Bulls. You remember the Chicago Bulls back in the day when they had Jordan and Pippen and all these people, and then they would get like these guys who just who could just shoot 3 pointers all day long, and that's the only thing they could do. They couldn't play defense. They couldn't dribble. And so all these people would just, you know, triple and quadruple team Jordan, and then he would throw it out to wide open 3 pointers for this one and that one. And those guys got the same amount of rings that Jordan did if they were on all, all the teams. Jimmy died last year. Oh boy. Well, you know, it just goes to show how long it's been since he was any good. All right, iconic symbols and legendary figures. The club's motto is "To dare is to do." So that's inspiring. To dare is to do, reflecting its bold and ambitious approach, both on and off the pitch. They're ambitious, but they don't win. So I don't know. How about to dare is to win? Iconic emblem. The golden cockerel perched atop the East End is a symbol of pride and heritage. And they're known for wearing their famous white shirts. So Tottenham, known for their famous white shirts, this says. So They wear a white shirt. The club has a strong presence on social media. Okay. Women's Super League, Tottenham Hotspur women compete in the Women's Super League showcase. They already said that. Bill Nicholson, former player and manager Bill Nicholson, is a Tottenham Hotspur legend, having had a profound impact on the club. But they don't say how. How did Bill Nicholson have such a profound impact if they never won anything, Phil? Stadium size, catering. Over 60 catering points were fitted inside the stadium, including the longest bar, 65 meters, in Europe, and another bar with its own microbrewery. All right, well, at least they got that going on. So, look, we may not win very much, but you can have a pint at the longest bar in Europe. I mean, this thing stretches so long it makes your head spin. And also, we got our own microbrewery in there. So, that's something. Future events. The stadium has plans to host various future events, including Lady Gaga and Guns N' Roses concerts, Anthony Joshua's heavyweight title defense, and other significant sporting and cultural events. They need to get the UFC in there. So there you go. That's all about Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. You can get a hot toddy, get a pint, drink down your miseries. That's 40. That comes from facts.net. So you know it's got to be true. Facts.net, all about Tottenham Hotspur. 40 facts about Katie Goodland. Who's Katie Goodland, Phil? It's always interesting to go to like these news sites for other countries and you're like, who the hell are these people? Phil will probably be like, you don't know who Katie Goodland is. She wears funny hats and therefore is famous. Don't you know Katie Goodland? So that's what's going on with the Jets. So we got some inactives. So the inactives are here, and there's something surprising. Inactives today, Morgan Moses. That's not surprising. Max Mitchell, he was active last week. Izzy Abanikanda, he's been inactive all year. Braden McGregor. Here's the surprising one. Wide receiver Malachi Corley is inactive. And JBC and CJM. So so no surprises really, except for Malachi Corley is inactive in this game, and that is because we had to make room for Adrian Martinez. Those who didn't hear, Adrian Martinez has been called up from the practice squad and elevated, not signed to the 53 man, but elevated to the 53 man for this game. So because of that, we needed to have an unusual, someone who's not usually inactive, and we chose for that to be Malachi Corley. Now, Corley's a guy we all had a lot of high hopes for coming into the season. We were all excited about him, and he's done exactly nothing. Exactly nothing so far in the game. I mean, in any of the games, really. EJ is here, and he says, you have to figure Jets are due for a bounce back today. Well, let's hope so, EJ. So Malachi, now, look, it's not the worst thing in the world for a guy to basically redshirt for a year. He came from a small college. He needs to develop a little bit. We got a bunch of people ahead of him. I don't mind it too much. He's a third round pick. Would it be nice if he just like came in and was like Braylon Allen where they couldn't keep him off the field? Yeah, that'd be nice. But you can't expect everybody to develop at the same pace. So it looks like Malachi is taking a little bit longer than we hoped. Maybe by the second half of the year he starts to become a factor. Maybe it's not until next year. You got to see. Uh-oh. So Phil says, I'm concerned at Brees's pregame body language again. He looks troubled. Well, I'm not seeing that. I have Twitter up here. The Vikings inactives are Tristan Dax Jackson, never heard of him. Brett Rippon, former Jet legend Brett Rippon. Fabian Moreau, cornerback. Cornerback Dwight McLaughlin, don't know who that is. Defensive line Levi Drake Rodriguez, don't know who that is. Defensive line Jalen Redmond, don't know who that is. Tackle Walter Rouse. So nobody major inactive for the Vikings, I would say. Uh, but so I'm keeping an eye on X, formerly Twitter. Um, we also called up Marcelino McCrary Ball. He's basically the CJ Mosley replacement in the fact that he will play special teams and everybody else gets bumped up one. So, for example, you don't want Chaz Surratt playing as much special teams because he's going to have to actually play on defense. So you call up Marcelino and he plays the special teams for you. Um, and we called up Adrian Martinez. So the interesting thing is Martinez there for depth or do we have an Amart package where we're going to do something to use Amart's legs, for example, which he really could do? Now, I'm not seeing any pictures from the beat writers or anything or any video. Let me see if I change it here to see if I can see what Phil's talking about here. And they have some pictures of the guys warming up. Uh, Here's Brees going for a pass. I mean, he's warming up, Phil. He just caught a one-handed pass, according to the Jets thing. They put out a 5-second video, and Brees is jogging, catching a one-hand pass. What's wrong with that? These guys are just warming up, Phil. You know, you can't expect them to be running around with their hair on fire in the pregame. They run out of energy. Uh, the other thing, and Jamie Erdahl is interviewing Sauce Gardner. He's looking pretty fashionable, I would say. Um, but the other thing to keep in mind today is that Aaron Rodgers can pass 60,000 passing yards on his career today if he gets, I don't know, 100 something. I forget. But at some point, Samini's been 96 yards. So today, probably, unless something goes terribly, terribly wrong, please God, don't have that happen. Knock on wood. 96 yards shy of becoming the ninth quarterback in NFL history with 60,000 yards. So that's something to watch out for. Yeah, Harlan says difficult to do something if you aren't on the field. Yeah, right. So he's not doing something in practice enough to make the Jets put him on the field, like with Braylon Allen. EJ says, "Are you in favor of including Mike Williams?" Not initially, no. I mean, we got to see the rest of the deal. Are they going to throw in anything else? I don't want to include Mike Williams. I want to include Reddick. Get his butt out of here. Reddick in a third for Adams. That's my proposal. I don't want to include Williams. No, because you can never have too much depth, really. And if you think about it, if we don't include Williams and our top three are, Adams, Williams, and Wilson, and then Wilson moves more in the slot. He takes up a higher percentage in the slot, and I think he does better from there. So I think he could become even more dangerous. But then you need you need another outside guy because Gibson can really only play in the slot for the most part. Occasionally goes outside, but he's not really suited for that. So I don't want to include Williams. They're talking about Williams in the news. So one of the things you have to keep in mind, EJ, they talk about things in the news because the beat writers and the most of the reporters are not. Uh, they're trying to make connections, and one of the connections is that the general manager of the Raiders used to be the general manager of the Chargers, who drafted Mike Williams. So they make a connection. But any general manager would look at Mike Williams the same. He is a good wide receiver, and so the fact that Tedesco, whatever his name is, drafted him, who cares? I mean, For example, would the Raiders be more interested in a guy like Xavier Gibson? A younger guy who is cheap. They don't have to pay. And what Mike Williams, what good does Mike Williams do the Raiders? He's on a 1 year contract. If they're rebuilding for the future, he's not part of it. He's old. The Jets. He might be useful for the Jets to extend. For example, I think he's been good for us. I like Mike Williams on our team, but if the Raiders are going to go down the path of okay, it's rebuilding time, which I don't know if they're thinking that now or not, but they might be. They didn't draft a quarterback in this year's draft, and they decided to run it back with Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew. So they were thinking they were going to go for it this year. But if it comes to the fact that we have to rebuild, why would they even want Mike Williams? He doesn't fit the profile of something you want. If anything, you take a young guy that maybe could work out long term that's cheap. But they might be more interested in Malachi, for example. I don't think we would trade Malachi, but they might want Corley more or Gibson more than Mike Williams just because Tedesco drafted him. What does that mean? He's building a team now in Las Vegas. And if they're doing a full rebuild, like you would want a Mike Williams as a final piece if you're going for it and you just need a wide receiver. So Mike Williams makes more sense for the Jets than the Raiders, really, my opinion. But I would not want to include him. Yeah, I guess. I mean, what they need to do is play well, Joe. Let them play, but they got to not stink. That would be good. We're here to win games this year. We can't be worrying about development too much. We're not in development mode like we were 3 years ago. Oh, there's a big, Brian Costello says, there's a Vikings horn right in front of them. That big, giant Vikings horn. Right in front of the press box, they put it. So, Jets and Giants, Finn. Hey, Frankie, for our Jets to have a chance today, they have to stick to the run game with both Hall and Allen to set up the pass. What do you think? Well, I think the same thing that I usually say, which is it depends on what the defense does. You're never going to predetermine what you do on offense because it depends what the defense does. The defense determines what happens more than anything. For example, if the Vikings are just loading up the box, you can't really run against a loaded up box. You have to throw them out of it. On the other hand, if they're giving you a light box, you have to run them out of that. So it all depends on what they do. Now, no matter what we do, we got to block people. The blocking last game was not good, both pass pro and running game. No matter what we do, we need the blocking to improve in order to have a chance. Either people are going to be in our backfield in the run game, that's no good, or Rodgers going to be running for his life and going to get injured again, and that's no good. So either way, those big boys up front have to play better. And that includes everybody. The scheme has to be better. The quarterback has to be better in shifting the line when necessary. And the tight ends have to help. And the backs have to help. And the quarterback needs to recognize what's going on. So it's an 11-person effort, really. But that's what needs to happen. So that's really how it goes. When you get to the line of scrimmage, the defense determines what you do. Now, knowing that, of course, the defensive coordinator, who's Brian Flores of the Vikings, knows that. So what he does is he tries to disguise what he's doing all the time. That's the point of all of that amoeba front stuff and double mugging, the A gap, and sim pressures, and all the things he's going to do that we're going to see today, which is really the chess match of the game, in my opinion. The reason he does that is because he doesn't want to let you know what he's doing. Are there 10 in the box? Are there 2 in the box? You don't know because he's got people running all over the place. They're switching around. They're simulating. They're fire blitzing. They're doing all sorts of things to make you confused. That's what he's trying to do. And so that's the chess match. And so that's the thing to watch is they're going to be so multiple on defense is our offensive team, and it's really mostly on the players reading what's going on in real time because, the play comes in, it's really just a suggestion. Then Rodgers gets it. He looks at what's going on and makes a bunch of decisions. And so, who wins the chess match? And ultimately, that's what's going to determine the game. Whoever wins the chess match between basically Rodgers and Flores is going to win this game, I think. And you can look at it the other way with Kevin O'Connell and Sam Darnold and our defense. But to me, that's the most fascinating part because Flores is so different than a lot of different defenses. It's very interesting to watch them play defense. Omatic is here. Omatic says, "No way am I trading Mike or Garrett. What's wrong with you people?" Yeah, I wouldn't trade him. No, I'll answer for Harlan. No, we can't be giving up Brees just because he hasn't played well so far. Because the holes haven't been open for him. It's really on the offensive line. What do you want him to do? There's no hole to run through. What do you want the kid to do? Yeah, there's a couple he could have done better, but yeah, this is a good idea, Eric. Let's look like a competent football team right off the right off the rip. Here's a question. If we win the toss, do we take the ball or defer? Let's say we come out, we win the toss. Okay, should we take the ball or should we let our defense come on the field? Because if you let the defense come on the field, and then the announcers are going to say, "Well, the strength of this team on the Jets is the defense," and Robert Saleh and blah 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 blah, but then if O'Connell and Darnold come out and start gashing us, that doesn't look too good. On the other hand, if we take the ball and then we come out and we three and out, I mean, I was finishing up my drive charts yesterday because I got interrupted last week by having to leave. Uh, if you just want to take a look at this, if you look at it, the offense now is raining. I understand, but we play in New Jersey. It's going to rain. We play in a shithole. But our drives were three plays, three plays, three plays, three plays. First four drives were three play drives, three and out. Fumble, turnover, punt. We did one of those three play drives. We kicked a field goal. All right. That's not three and out, but, and then punt. I mean, what the hell, man? Then the next drive, seven plays, five plays, six plays. I mean, we did start to move the ball after the fourth drive, but that's taking too long to get going. We need to get going. And like I said, the problem is, Hackett could have the greatest game plan of all time. He could script his 15 plays. He could do whatever. He could have the greatest game plan ever devised. But if the Vikings come out and do things you haven't seen, they do unexpected things. You're not sure what's going on. They confuse your blocking scheme. We move people to the wrong side, and now here comes a guy from over here, and these guys do late blitzes as well. So your game plan goes right out the window if the defense does things that confuse you, and guys on the offense screw it up and don't pick people up. I'm supposed to be blitz pickup as a running back, and I go out into the pattern for a pass and leave the quarterback vulnerable. And now here comes a late blitz by one of their linebackers, and boom. And what do you suppose? That's you say Hackett's a terrible. Well, in a situation like that, it's really the players not executing. Nate is here. He says ice mocha with Frankie. So Phil says let the Vikes have it. Yeah. And then our vaunted defense. I would say probably so because I think one of the big weaknesses on our team is the backup defensive tackles, and I think teams have started to figure this out. That when we have Quinnen and Javon in there, we're pretty good against the run. Not as good as we are against the pass, but when they come out, when they get tired and they have to come out, and we bring in Solly and whoever else we got in there last year's Bruce. Last game was Bruce Hector, and whether it's LT3 or whoever it is, those guys aren't as good as Quinnen and Javon, obviously, and there's a big drop off. So then they really start running it up the middle. They start running their middle. They're basically A gap zone runs and they're duo and all that stuff. So I think that's something. So in other words, if we're going to be on defense early, let's let our first stringers get on the field and hopefully hold them down. Um, and then get the ball over to the offense. That may be what they think, Phil, as well. Omatic says get our offense on the field as much as possible. Yeah, but then you go 3 and out, and then the fans are getting restless. So who knows? I mean, what I'm saying is, look, we've been slow starting. Maybe it's good to. I mean, look, 3 plays, 3 plays, 3 play. First 4 drives last game. Now we did end up running 74 plays. We did get our act together to a certain degree later, and also that was a rain game, so maybe it was just the rain. I don't know, but um, you know, might be a good idea to get them off the field first and let our offense, settle in a little bit. Take the ball first, Braden says. So Joe Mike says no photo today. LT3 looked good, clogging the middle in small sample size. Solomon Thomas getting run over. He is undersized. Yeah, LT3. I'm not sure where you're getting your information about LT3. I don't see that on tape personally. So far, LT3. Let's look it up. I mean, in the preseason, that was true, Joe. Preseason, he was looking good. But let's see. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, I would say, yeah, I would say it is probably time to let LT3 have a shot. He only has 24 snaps. I want to look up his snap count. He only has 24 snaps. He did look good in the preseason. He hasn't looked terrible in these 24 snaps. I think you're right, Joe. I thought he was worse because if you look at Jalen Holmes, I was thinking of, yeah, see, if you look at this, Bruce Hector, Solomon Thomas, Jalen Holmes have all been some of our worst defenders. Those are 3 of the backup defensive tackles, which was the thing I was concerned about in the offseason, that we weren't addressing this properly. So I would say, yeah, you're right. Let's let LT3 have a shot alongside Solly. Solly's got to be in there, I guess. I mean, now Solly does have 6 pressures, which isn't bad for he has about half the snaps, backup snaps. Let's look at total pressures. Yeah, you look at Solly, he's 6th on the team in pressures, so he is doing something. Uh, our leaders in pressures are Will McDonald, Quinnen Williams, Javon, which is interesting. So our 2 starting defensive tackles. You wonder what the heck Joe and Coach Sala were thinking with these backup defensive tackles. They felt good about Quinnen and Javon, but anybody could see that we were 1 or 2 defensive tackles short of what we needed. I don't know what they think Solomon Thomas is going to be. If you let's look up something fun. I was thinking recently about Nathan Shepard. You guys ever think about Nathan Shepard? Coach Sala mentioned him, Big Shep, in one of his calls, and then I saw a graph. I mean, this guy has become a pretty decent player. He's not awesome, but he's grading out 61.2. This guy, he got a 3-year deal, $15 million with the Saints, and he's become a decent player. And we basically made him. He was on our team for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And his best year was 2022. And then he got the big deal with New Orleans. He's in the second year of a 3-year deal. And he didn't play particularly well for them the first year, but he's playing better this year. And maybe the thought was a hubristic thought of we can just develop somebody. We developed Nathan Shepard, after all. We developed Bryce Huff, after all. We developed all these people. We'll just take whoever and make them into something good. And I think that's a dangerous philosophy. Unless you have, I mean, Maybe LT3 develops into the next Nathan Shepard. I don't know. We'll find out, but I think he's going to be on the field today. So, let's watch him. It doesn't seem to be much news breaking. Samini says, key for the Jets, jump on Darnold early. Not used to playing from behind. So he's basically saying get ahead early. That's not exactly genius. Every game you should want to do that. Doesn't matter who the other quarterback is. Um, Harlan says no. Never think about Nathan. Well, maybe you should, Harlan, because I mean, after all, I think it's something that the Jets coaches thought. Well, we could just take anybody and make them good. And I think that says something about our organization. And it troubled me all off season that we were not addressing defensive tackle sufficiently after we got Kinlaw, because we're supposed to have a rotation of at least 8, and 4 of those are defensive tackles. So that means you need 4 good ones. And we were already going to go with Solomon Thomas, who's not good. So I was saying we need another one. Like if we would have signed, what's his name? Quentin Jefferson, that would have been good. If we retained him, then that would have been much better. But we got Lakey Fotu, and then he got injured, so maybe Lakey's going to be that guy. But I guess it's TBD, and he got injured. But shoot, man, probably if I had to get now, Lakey. For those who don't know, Lakey came back to practice this week. They opened what's called his practice window, and so he was practicing. So that's a good thing. But they did not activate him, obviously, and so um, we'll have to see how it goes, but probably next week or the following, he's going to make his debut, and maybe that'll be the solution to the backup defensive tackle problem. I don't know. Braden says, I don't care about anything but wins at this point. Yeah, that's how most people feel. I don't know. Maybe it's copium that we look into all these advanced statistics and everything else because we don't win enough. But at the same time, if we did win, probably more people would pay attention to some of the deeper issues that I talk about on my channel in particular, because when we lose, no one cares about that. It's like, but if we win, it's a weird thing. Like if we win, like even if you just look at the PFF grades as a simple one, like if we win, I think everybody wants to know about the PFF grades. If we lose, it's like, who cares about these stupid PFF grades? Well, we didn't even win. But if we win, then they're like, oh, let's check out the in-depth statistical review of this. Kind of a funny thing. Meanwhile, the PFF grades are what they are, no matter what. Let me know if you can hear the bell. Also, it's 8:43, so we got to be careful. So this game's coming on at 9:30. I have to go over to the Green Bean channel at some point. So I'm going to end this stream here within the next few minutes. Get your questions in now. Tanzel Smart, Joe says. So somebody remembers Tanzel Smart. Like, yeah, why couldn't they develop Tanzel Smart? But he's not even on the practice squad, Joe. I believe he retired. I think he got tired of being on the practice squad. Let's make sure nobody else, some other team might have picked him up. I thought they were going to re-sign him to the P squad when they were making some other maneuvers. No, he's a free agent, so we could sign him at any time. It says here he's a free agent, if this is right. But I think he got tired of being on the practice squad. He was a guy who was almost, but not quite good enough to be on the 53 men, which is a shame because he's a great guy, of course. But he's a guy they could sign off the street if they needed to. But he's not really. Eric Craig says no bell. Huh. Well, see, so now this microphone, that might be the sacrifice you make with the microphone, because this is one of those microphones that has what they call unidirectional. So the voice goes in this way, and it's sort of blocking out the atmosphere, which is what I prefer because you get a clearer vocal. But then you don't hear the stuff on the outside. The bell is right here. Here's the bell. So we may have to make that sacrifice to get clearer vocals. I mean, nobody has commented on the difference between this microphone and the other one, and that has surprised me. When I listened, I thought it was much better, but I did a couple of videos and nobody made any comment about the microphone. So I was like, oh, maybe it's not as different as I thought. So coming on the Jets pregame central is Kurt Warner. So I guess he's there for the NFL network. Lavernius Coles, Wayne Krebet, and Tony Richardson, Jet legends. Kurt Warner's not a Jet legend. Wish he was. Um, so that's who's coming up on Jets pregame central. So nobody can hear this bell. All right. So we'll have to do a little more testing with this microphone and so forth and so on. But I think we're going to cut it off here so we can all go over to the Green Bean Jets fan channel and do the watch along starting at 9:30. It's currently 8:46 a.m. on the East Coast of America. And so I guess I'll see you guys. Yeah, maybe the bell could sit on your shoulder. Yeah, I'll just I'll just do one of these. Maybe I'll tie it to my shoulder next time. So I'll see you guys over at the Green Bean channel